George Shuttleworth's life changed in a blink of an eye when Eileen dumped him for a new life in sunny Thailand. Thankfully though, George's luck is finally set to change as he and cheeky Christina begin a love affair full of fun and romance. In last night's episode, viewers saw George and Christina share dinner together at Speed Doll, after George was dumped by an online love interest. But has George truly found his happily ever after? Here, Tony chats to us at Inside Soap about the future ahead for his adored character. No, I don't think he is. It's raw and she hurt him a lot. He invested a lot in Eileen, he thought he'd found his lady for life, so to speak. So, when it all fell apart out of the blue, he was just completely lost and quite broken. He's just starting to come to terms with it. When Christina reappears, George is quite quickly taken with her. She's destitute and typically, George feels sorry for the underdog. Despite her history, he's happy to give her a helping hand. He gives Christina a job at Shuttleworth's as a cleaner and then love slowly starts to blossom over a polished coffin. Glenda is very suspicious. She's worried that Christina's out to hurt George. Nobody gets past Glenda until Glenda is ready for them to get past her. So Christina's got a job on her hands. Coronation Street. Heartbreak, healing, and a new love? George Shuttleworth's romance with Christina sparks hope after Eileen's shock exit. Life on the cobbles is rarely smooth, and for funeral director George Shuttleworth, it's been one emotional rollercoaster after another. When his long-term partner Eileen Grimshaw stunned him by packing her bags and jetting off to Thailand for a fresh start, George's world was turned upside down. I don't think George ever saw it coming, actor Tony Maudsley admits when we sit down to discuss his character's recent turmoil. He thought Eileen was his soulmate, the woman he'd grow old with. To be abandoned like that, out of the blue, was devastating. George invested so much in the relationship, and suddenly he was left with nothing but heartbreak. Yet in true Coronation Street fashion, love and laughter often spring from the unlikeliest of places. Enter Christina Boyd, Weatherfield's cheeky, unpredictable whirlwind who has quickly turned George's solemn life on its head. Could this unexpected pairing give George the happiness he's been yearning for, or is he heading towards more trouble? Picking up the pieces after Eileen. For fans, George's romance with Eileen was one of those late-in-life love stories that offered hope and warmth. Their shared humor, bickering, and quiet loyalty felt refreshingly down to earth. That's why Eileen's departure hit George, and viewers, so hard. Eileen wanted a change, Tony explains. She felt restless, and Thailand offered her adventure and sunshine. But George didn't want to leave Weatherfield, not with his family, business, and community all rooted here. When she left, it wasn't just about losing her, it was about feeling abandoned by the life they'd built together. The fallout was painful. George, usually jovial and community-spirited, retreated into himself. He threw himself into work at Shuttleworth's funeral parlor, hiding behind polished coffins and arrangements rather than facing his loneliness. Soap watchers noticed subtle changes in George's demeanor, fewer jokes, slower movements, and long, lingering looks at empty spaces. He was broken, Tony admits. The loss wasn't just romantic, it was existential. Who was George without Eileen? That's what he had to figure out. Christina sweeps in. Just when George seemed destined to fade into a quiet, lonely routine, fate delivered an unexpected jolt. Christina Boyd, mother of Daisy Midgley, notorious for her chaotic energy and string of past mistakes, returned to the street. Christina is the sort of woman who turns heads everywhere she goes. Loud, unpredictable, and more than a little mischievous, she's the polar opposite of George's measured, careful persona. Yet, in Soapland, opposites often attract. When Christina reappears, George doesn't know what to make of her at first, Tony recalls. She's got this baggage, this reputation for being unreliable. But George is someone who roots for the underdog. He sees past people's flaws. And when he sees Christina down on her luck, he can't help but step in. That's exactly what happens. With Christina struggling financially and emotionally, George offers her work as a cleaner at Shuttleworth's. What begins as a kind-hearted gesture slowly blossoms into something warmer. George has this big heart, Tony says. He doesn't judge Christina for her past. Instead, he gives her a chance. And in the process, he starts to rediscover laughter, flirtation, and joy, things he hasn't felt in a long time. Romance over a polished coffin. Of course, Coronation Street loves an unlikely romance. Fans were treated to their first taste when George and Christina shared dinner at Speed Doll. It wasn't the smoothest date in soap history. George was still raw from being dumped by an online love interest earlier that evening, but sparks quietly flickered. There's something quite charming about their chemistry, Tony smiles. George is cautious, Christina is impulsive. She teases him, he steadies her. It's this push and pull that makes it fun to play. Even the workplace has become a setting for their budding love story. Between funeral arrangements and cleaning duties, little moments of tenderness slip through. A joke shared over tea, a lingering glance by the coffin displays, and Christina's cheeky banter breaking George's solemn walls. It's not quite the traditional backdrop for romance, but in Weatherfield, anything goes. Glenda's watchful eye, but not everyone is thrilled about Christina's growing closeness to George. His sister Glenda Shuttleworth, played by the brilliant Jodie Prenger, has her doubts. Glenda is protective, Tony explains. She doesn't want to see George hurt again, not after Eileen. And Christina, well, she's got a reputation. Glenda's not convinced this woman has George's best interests at heart. Indeed, Glenda has been vocal in her suspicions, throwing sharp looks whenever Christina enters the room and warning her brother to take things slow. Fans know Glenda as someone who doesn't mince her words, and her disapproval sets the stage for some fiery confrontations. Nobody gets past Glenda until Glenda is ready, Tony laughs. So Christina's got her work cut out. If she wants to prove she's genuine, she's going to have to win over the whole Shuttleworth clan, and that's no easy task. Can George trust again? Underneath the playful banter and growing romance lies a deeper question. Can George truly love again after the heartbreak of losing Eileen? No, I don't think he's fully there yet, Tony reflects thoughtfully. He's still raw. Eileen leaving left a scar, and while Christina is helping him heal, it's a process. He's not suddenly fixed just because someone new has come along. This emotional realism is what makes the storyline resonate with fans. George's journey isn't about quick fixes or rebound romances. It's about learning to trust, open up, and risk vulnerability once more. For Christina, too, the relationship offers a chance at redemption. Can a woman known for flightiness and past mistakes prove she's capable of genuine love and commitment? Or will old habits resurface and break George's heart all over again? Fan reaction. Unsurprisingly, the storyline has divided viewers. Social media lit up after George and Christina's dinner scene at Speed Doll, with fans debating whether Christina is truly the right woman for him. George deserves better after what Eileen did to him, one viewer wrote on X, formerly Twitter. I'm not sure Christina is the answer. Others, however, are embracing the fresh pairing. Christina brings fun, chaos, and color into George's life, another fan commented. It's exactly what he needs to start living again. Even in fan forums, speculation is rife. Will Christina stick around? Could George eventually find himself torn between lingering feelings for Eileen in this new romance? Some even wonder whether Eileen might one day return from Thailand, throwing George's world into fresh turmoil. What's next for George? So, what does the future hold for Weatherfield's favorite funeral director? Tony teases that while romance is certainly on the cards, nothing in Coronation Street is ever straightforward. There will be ups and downs, definitely, he hints. George isn't the kind of man to dive headfirst into something without thinking. And Christina, well, she's unpredictable. There are going to be challenges, but also some really funny, heartwarming moments. Viewers can expect to see George and Christina's relationship tested, not just by Glenda's doubts, but by Christina's past resurfacing in unexpected ways. Will George stand by her, or will the weight of her baggage prove too heavy? George has this loyalty, Tony says. When he cares about someone, he's all in. That's what makes him vulnerable, but also so lovable. I think the audience is going to be rooting for him, whatever happens. The bigger picture. In many ways, George's storyline reflects something deeply relatable. The idea that love can find you when you least expect it, even after heartbreak and loss. People connect with George because he's an everyman, Tony concludes. He's not flashy or dramatic, he's just a kind, ordinary bloke trying to navigate life. Seeing him hurt, seeing him laugh again, it's a journey people recognize in their own lives. That's what makes it powerful. Whether George and Christina are destined for happily ever after or doomed to disaster, one thing is certain. Viewers will be watching closely as the romance unfolds on the cobbles.